So, the Beatles just revealed its brand new box set, Rubber Soul the 1964 US albums? In mono? What? Yeah, I'm just as confused as you are. Where in the world did this come from? And where the is the expected Rubber Soul set? Quick history. On Wednesday, September the 11th, the Beatles' social media accounts posted this video teasing a new upcoming release. Fans had high hopes, with some suggesting that this could be demixed versions of Free as a Bird and Real Love, to go along with last year's release of Now and Then, or, better yet, a complete rework of Anthology. Others, like me, had reasonable expectations, thinking it was going to be the long-delayed, long-rumoured Rubber Soul set. However, that was not the case. On the 12th of September, they revealed what the new set was going to be, and very unexpectedly was a massive 8 LP release of the 1964 US albums. So why are we getting a set of these albums so unexpectedly? Well, it might not be as unexpected as you think. To quote the Beatles website, 1964 was the year that the USA first fell head over heels for the Beatles, with an unprecedented run of albums and singles topping the charts. But these albums are not simply replicas of the 1963 and 1964 albums released by Parlophone in the UK and the rest of the world. Seeing a different opportunity, Capitol Records and United Artists compiled these albums for US release between January 1964 and March 1965. Whilst we're on the Beatles site, this is what they had to say about the new re-release themselves. To celebrate the momentous year when Beatlemania exploded across the US, 7 Beatles albums are collected for a spectacular new 8 LP vinyl box set. They all feature faithfully replicated artwork and new 4-panel inserts with essays written by American Beatles historian and author Bruce Spicer. The album's new vinyl lacquers were cut by Kevin Reeves at Nashville's East Iris Studios, with constant reference to the original vinyl first pressings, to ensure that they are faithful to the original release, whilst also enabling more musical information to be heard than that was possible before. And they are also 180-gram audiophile pressings. So, what is my opinion on this set? This is a tough one, because putting aside my want for a Rubber Soul set, I like the idea of this, especially since I made a video on the concept for an early years box set, which is kind of similar to this. However, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. Starting off with pricing and exclusivity. The pricing isn't great, yeah. £32 per album is a bit much, even with the exclusive insert they each come with. It also doesn't get that much better if you buy it as a set, but it brings it down to £26 per vinyl. Hey, and at least it comes with a box to hold them all in, am I right? The really unfortunate part is that the double album, The Beatles Story, has been made exclusive to the box set, meaning you have to pay the massive £230 price tag if you want to get that specific album. I really disagree with this, and I hope Apple decides to make it individually available, but let's be real, they probably won't. The mono debate. I can't really decide how I feel about the fact that this is a mono set. On the one hand, it's great that we get to hear the albums in the way they were originally intended and sound the best. But on the other hand, we are in the age of amazingly good remixing technology, such as Peter Jackson's demix tech. So if Giles were to remix this in stereo and do as good of a job as he did for Revolver, it could very well be on par with the sound of the mono mix. So, I'm not sure. Streaming services. This isn't really a point against this exact release, but in general, I think that they need to put the US albums on streaming services. I do kind of understand why they're not on there, since it would only make it more complicated, especially for new fans, but I think that all Beatles albums should be on streaming services in mono, stereo, and the re-releases. Maybe they could even work with streaming services to help make it less complicated. Here's an example I mocked up for how the Beatles page could look on Spotify, to make it simple to find any of the albums you could ever want. A quick way to get these albums. Something else I want to point out is that although it might not be the best pricing wise, still a very good pickup for someone like me who lives in the UK where the US albums aren't as common to find, especially in mono. That's also not even talking about the fact that they would be used copies with likely some damage and that I would have to track them all down individually. So for me, and I'm sure others, it'll be a good and quick way to add these to my collection. And now my final point. Where is Rubber Soul? So as you know, the Rubber Soul set has been rumoured ever since the release of the Revolver remix, and was the next obvious album for the mixing and outtakes treatment. However, the release of Now and Then, and the Red and Blue albums, took priority, pushing the release forward to this year. We now know that this probably isn't the case, and the majority of fans, including me, are quite disappointed that we still haven't gotten this release. But could it be for a good reason? Hear me out here. When hearing the new mixes via the Red album, I and many others were not overly impressed. Granted, the voices and instruments are very clear, and the stereo drums sound great, but a lot of the mixes still felt unbalanced in the panning department. For example, each instrument would be basically hard panned to either the left or right, which in my opinion is one of the biggest problems of the original stereo mix, and to not address that is a big mistake in my opinion. So what I'm hoping is that the team over at Apple Corps have heard the fans' complaints about the mixes and has gone back to the drawing board to give us more balanced mixes, and in the meantime they give us something else to consume, therefore the 1964 US albums. Am I going to buy it? Yes. Although I'm slightly upset and would have preferred a Rubber Soul set over this any day, I've already pre-ordered the set and, well, at the end of the day, it's a nice addition to my collection and I'm excited to listen to the US variants for the first time. I just really hope that we don't have to wait another year for Rubber Soul. Alright, bye.